Is this content?
Your normal intro. Welcome to the AM show. It's so weird. It's so weird. Okay.
All right, we got this. We got this.
I'm trying not to laugh.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Still smiling. It's usually a lot easier because you're not usually next to me when I'm doing this. So it's just me and just my room, and I'm just quiet, and I just go and I do it. Right, the ESPN studios in Los Angeles.
All right, yes.
Very serious.
And if you laugh, you can...
Oh my! Stop it!
If you laugh, you get kicked out.
Dude, if you laugh, I laugh.
All right.
So.
Okay.
All right. When you moved your hands, I was like, I can't. I just have to look forward. Welcome back to the A&M show. I'm Miles Davis, alongside my friend and my partner, Andre Monroe. Andre, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing great. It is good to do this for the first time.
I know.
We're both in person. Yeah.
I think 2 years.
Yeah.
Summer of 2019. This is the summer of 2021, and we're finally doing a in-person podcast. Last year was the pandemic, and 2019 we just met each other, so this is the first time we're doing it. So glad to be doing it. We have a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yes.
So what do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about Ben Simmons. We're going to talk about Ben Simmons first. So as you guys know, Ben Simmons, the Sixers have actively started shopping Ben Simmons and looking at teams that may be interested in the guard, the Sixer star guard, and some of the five teams include the Kings, Pacers, Timberwolves. What are the other two teams?
Kings, Timberwolves, Pacers,
Cavs,
and there was one more.
Raptors. Yes.
So let's talk about it. So out of those 5 teams, I think for me, what I'm looking for most is what can give us the best value back. And I'm thinking about the Kings. They can give us De'Aaron Fox, and that'll be a great piece. But other teams like the Cavs, I know, Miles, you like Colin Sexton. I like Colin Sexton too, but in terms of a return, you want to get a good return for a player like Ben Simmons, who's 24. And even though he just came off a terrible series, we all know that, he still has value. He's still young. He still is an all-star. He still is Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year candidate. So we want value out of Ben Simmons. So I feel like to get that most value, we'll either trade for a superstar like Damian Lillard, or we'll have to settle for a guy like De'Aaron Fox, who still can be great. But the point is, I just want value back.
Me too. But the issue that I feel like for the Sixers is that the teams that want Ben Simmons are really
terrible.
Yes. And they're also really underrating his value. So while we would want De'Aaron Fox, while we would take Colin Sexton in a trade, because as you said, big Colin Sexton fan right here, those teams may not necessarily want to give up De'Aaron Fox, give up Colin Sexton for Ben Simmons. And it makes me ponder the question, what is Simmons' true trade value? Because you have those people that are saying that his value is really low. There are some people saying that while it has lowered, it's still pretty high.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, a player's trade value, it fluctuates so much because the NBA is constantly changing. And a guy like Ben Simmons, his trade value a year ago would have been not high. It would have been high, but now that he just came off a series where he shot like 30%, I think it was, from the free throw line, and only averaged about 11 points, his trade value, it can't be high. GMs are going to try to exploit Daryl Morey and Elton Brand, and they're going to try to get the best offer possible for Ben Simmons because they know deep down that he's still a great player. It's just that because his value is so low, people want to buy low, of course, and that's a saying. So I think that's why you got so many bad teams trying to trade for him right now.
So out of the 5 teams that we listed, what team would you want to see Ben Simmons traded to, and who would you want in return?
Great question. So I'd probably look at the Kings first because they have De'Aaron Fox, and no one talks about De'Aaron Fox. He's a great player, great underrated player. He's young. He's not an all-star yet because he is, of course, in Sacramento, where no one really watches the Kings. So, yeah. But what do you think?
I think I would take a trade with the Cavaliers. It's just that The question for me when it comes to the Cavaliers is whether or not Colin Sexton can be that second option on a championship team. Not whether or not he can be the first option on a mediocre team or the second option on a playoff team, but rather the second or third option on a championship team and deliver game in and game out during the regular season, but also during the playoffs, which is something that Ben Simmons really hasn't been able to do.
But the thing is, of course, we lose a value on the defensive side, but there's a lot of players that would be an upgrade over Ben Simmons on the offensive side. And De'Aaron Fox is one of them. You can go from a player who only gives you 14 points per game around that to a player who can give you 25. And of course, we lose that defensive side of the ball. But on the offensive side, we're going to be set. And the spacing is going to be better. The shooting is going to be better. And I'm not really worried about the defensive side too much because we have the anchor in Joel Embiid. We have a great defensive player in Tobias Harris. So I think we need offense the most right now.
So, Andre, if Damian Lillard is off now, before we move on to our next topic, I know that both you and I both would absolutely love it if Damian Lillard became a Philadelphia 76er. But it seems as the days go by that Damian Lillard is not, in fact, on the table, even though Daryl Morey has constantly shown that Damian Lillard is the guy that we want as in a package, and we want to bring him to Philly to complement Joel Embiid and be that dynamic duo, that like star-studded gruesome twosome, if you will.
Yeah, gruesome twosome.
But if we can't get Lillard, do you think it's possible for us to get a Bradley Beal or a Zach LaVine or anything, or a player of that caliber if Damian Lillard isn't on the table?
It's going to be a situation where you have to offer Ben Simmons, but you're also going to have to probably offer, especially for Damian Lillard, they're going to probably ask for Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris, or Ben Simmons and Tyrese Maxey and Thibault. And when you get to that point, I don't think you make the move because you're giving up too much. You don't want to sacrifice your other players because Ben Simmons' trade value is low. And so, yeah, I just don't think you want to throw in too much, but it would be nice to have these players. What do you think? Who do you think the superstar we should go after? Like the superstar? Because we can go after De'Aaron Fox and Colin Sexton, but I think we can get even better.
Well, I feel like it's clear that Daryl Morey is clearly just trying to test the waters and see what superstars are out there, because if you get a better player to complement your superstar player that you have that's in his prime right now, it increases your chance to make a run at a championship. Mm-hmm. And so Damian Lillard definitely comes to mind. I feel like Bradley Beal would come to mind, but the issue is that Ben Simmons and Russell Westbrook could not and would never, ever
coexist.
Yes.
And GMs, as a GM, I get that, a trade for Bradley Beal would be great, but the Wizards GM, I forgot his name, but the Wizards GM is not going to pair Ben Simmons and Russell Westbrook together. They have to look out for their best interests of their own franchise.
And I feel like definitely with Bradley Beal, I don't think he would want to play in Philly. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I remember the first years. He did not like Philly.
So I don't think that while Bradley Beal is an insane talent, I don't think he wants to be here. And I think it would be near impossible to get him.
And not just that, I don't think Bradley Beal's a person who wants out. I think Damian Lillard probably wants out, and these other superstars across the NBA, they probably want out. But you have the ideal situation would trade for a superstar who actually wants to get out of his current situation. Because if he doesn't, you don't have the leverage. Be civil in here.
We do. So the question that I'm going to ask you, Andre, is do you still make a push for Deshaun Watson, considering the state of the Eagles right now?
So considering the state of the Eagles, I think that's what you have to look at first when making this decision. Because of course Deshaun Watson would be an upgrade. But given the current state, will you take that risk to actually acquire Deshaun Watson and give up the assets? And also, he has this whole thing going on, so that makes it even more complicated. So I don't know, but I'll let you go first on this one.
I mean, I feel like you just can't look past I feel like you have to look at the talent that Deshaun Watson has and realize that he can lead a locker room. He can be the guy that the Eagles need now that Carson Wentz is gone. And now that you have that purpose, that player that you can build around, you can really construct a really solid roster. And we still have those good pieces. We still have a solid offensive line. We have a defensive line that's getting older. We have a lockdown corner in Darius Slay. We have the Heisman Trophy winner, Devontae Smith, now on the team. We got Jalen Reagor coming back. We got Travis Fulgham getting more reps this year, and then Alshon Jeffrey's gone. So I feel like in the end, even though Jalen Hurts has done a great job this offseason and that he's been a great leader and that so many people have talked about that, I feel like the talent that Deshaun Watson has is just too good to pass up on.
My fear is that we get Deshaun Watson, and then we have to take on that contract, and then he might perform well. He might be even an MVP candidate like he was last year, but will that translate to actual success? And my fear is that it won't, and that when it won't, we'll just be in more of a complex cap situation, a terrible cap situation, and not really improve our wins that much either. So I just would rather, me personally, I would rather keep Jalen Hurts because I want to see what he is about. I want to see how good he is. I want to see his potential before we make a big decision to move on to Deshaun Watson.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I feel like just giving Jalen Hurts a year just to see what he can do is good. Yeah. But the issue is that at that same time, if he does underperform, then the Texans aren't even going to want him. And then we're going to have to look to the draft next year to draft a quarterback. And is it going to be Sam Howell? Is it going to be Malik Willis? I think that's his name, out of Liberty.
But would you rather do that or take that risk for Deshaun Watson? I think that's the question that Howie Roseman will have to answer.
And I feel like it's also going to be dependent on whether or not the Eagles are going to commit to rebuilding. Because it's like...
That too.
Because like you have the players there that could be players that could help. Why am I?
You're drawing a blank right now.
It's every word too.
But we do like you said before, we still do have a lot of good players. But let's be honest, we probably should be favoring a rebuild. Like we let go of Carson Wentz. Our players are aging. Jason Kelsey's about to retire. We have so much young talent. I think the Eagles need to commit to a rebuild. All that retool stuff, we tried that last year, did not work out. I think the move for Howie Roseman and the Eagles front office is to go to a rebuild. And I think getting Deshaun Watson doesn't help that.
All right, now before we move on to our next topic, we're going to do the segment in between. So we're going to start with you, Andre. What in sports this week has surprised you or has interested you?
So I'm going to go with the whole Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor fight. And I'm not really going to go too much into the actual fight, but instead, why are people still paying for pay-per-view events like this that only last because they have the undercard, which features a lot of good talent that's not represented. But when you get to the main match that people are actually here for, it only lasts like 5 minutes. So I don't really get the point of actually paying like $50 to $100 for this type of stuff. Also, it's just disappointing to see Conor McGregor tear his what did he do? Fracture his ankle or broke his leg? Broke his ankle. And it's disappointing to see a figure like Conor McGregor, who's so great at the sport and such an iconic person, to just fight after fight. Now I think that's his second loss to Dustin Poirier, and he lost to Khabib as well, or however you pronounce his name. So I mean, I don't want to say we're seeing the downfall of Conor McGregor, but we may be seeing the downfall of Conor McGregor, and that's sad to say.
Yeah, it's definitely sad to see such a polarizing figure in the sport who has garnered so much attention and so many fans over the past couple of years be finally reaching the end of his career.
Father time.
Yeah, and it's really sad, and it's really sad. And one of the reasons why it's so sad is because you know he's not going to stop. He's going to keep going. He's going to try and go for another fight with Dustin Poirier, and it's probably going to go the same way as the second fight did, and especially with his now broken ankle.
Yeah, and another thing, Conor McGregor talks so much trash talk.
Yes.
I mean, and when he's doing that, I kind of root for him because I love to see a player engage in that type of stuff in the sport of UFC, because that's what people are here for. The narratives, all that type of stuff, the trash talk, that's all entertainment. So when we see that, I get happy because, you know, it's just entertainment. But when you see him not be able to back up his trash talk, it's so disappointing. So hopefully he rebounds and hopefully he recovers from that broken ankle.
All right, and the one thing that surprised me in the past couple of weeks was the UEFA Euro final. Yes, AMM show followers, I am talking about soccer. Mm-hmm. So I was rooting for England, to be honest, because I have a lot of friends who support England. You know, it's coming home. It seemed nice. Some of my favorite soccer players from Manchester City, that's my team, actually play for England. And I guess it was a big heartbreak for England fans because they got so close to football finally coming home, and then they even scored in the 5th minute, and then they just lost on penalty kicks. But the worst part was probably just the racist remarks that was taken towards Jadon Sancho, Marcus Rashford, and I don't know his last name. I think it's Soko. I don't know, but
They probably know who you're talking about.
yeah, they probably do. But it's just unacceptable. Like, I understand that you guys lost, but these are still people. They're human beings, and nobody deserves to be targeted in that way, no matter what the result is. The fact that they even made it that far was an achievement, and you should be honoring that. You should be proud of that. And so,
Well, Miles is going to help me pick a soccer team soon.
Yes.
I have to decide on a soccer team.
Manchester City will be his team. Do not worry.
We'll see. We'll see. But what's our next topic?
I believe we're talking.
I think it's the we can talk more about the Eagles because the season is coming up soon.
Yes.
And we haven't talked about the Eagles in a while on this podcast partially because they were so disappointing last year, and it was so draining to watch the Eagles last year. I mean, it was painful to watch at times. And now so much change has happened. We're preparing for a new season. So Miles, give a little bit of your expectations for the season, and what are you looking for in the Eagles?
I have very low expectations for this Eagles team. Because I have put false hope in this team for the past 2-3 years, and now I realize that the only way for me to be proud of my team is if I give them such low expectations that they automatically make me proud. So I think that this team, I still feel like this team has very young aspects. We still don't have that certified second corner because you have Avonte Maddox now playing the slot since Cravon LeBlanc and Nikel Roby-Coleman are gone. You have Darius Slay at that cornerback 1 spot who's going to be guarding the best receivers. He did a solid job last year. But who's going to be that second corner? Who's going to be guarding that number 2? Because in the end, if we're playing the Cowboys, if Darius Slay is locking down Amari Cooper, who's going to lock down CeeDee Lamb? Who's going to be guarding Michael Gallup? We don't know. And that's going to be an issue. Mm-hmm. So I feel like this team, in the end, could go...
We have 17 games now, too, so you got to factor that in.
I'm going to predict 7-10 or 8-9.
7-10, okay.
Or 6-11. That is still 17. Yes.
There is so much stuff unknown with the Eagles this year.
Yes.
We don't know how Jalen Hurts will pan out. We don't know how Nick Sirianni will pan out. We don't know how the aging offensive line and defensive line will perform. And it's so much confusion centered around the Eagles. I just want to see how Nick Sirianni pans out. That's my number one thing. He's getting a lot of good reviews from Eagles players. But how would that translate to an actual football field is the question. Same with Jalen Hurts. Same with our defense, who's aging a lot. Fletcher Cox is aging. Didn't we let go of
Malik Jackson?
Malik Jackson. We let go of him. There's Fletcher Cox. There's Brandon Graham, who's aging too. Even Darius Slay is aging. Rodney McLeod is aging. And we lost Jalen Mills, of course. So it's just so much stuff with the Eagles that is yet to be seen, and we will see it soon. Like you, Miles, I'm giving myself low expectations because I have a crazy feeling that we'll do terrible next year.
Yeah, I also am very nervous about Nick Sirianni as a coach. Although the reports are that the players love him, and there have been those unanimous sources that say that there's some questioning about him. Mm-hmm. I am still very concerned, and I'm concerned about all our first year head coaches for the most part. I was even concerned about Chip Kelly, but but we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about Chip Kelly anymore. But yeah, we do have a good coaching staff outside of. He built a good coaching staff. It's just I don't know. The team is so different this year. So many players coming in, players going out, coaches going in, coaches going out. Then we have the constant Javier Roseman, who I despise. But we'll see. We'll just have to see. If not, I'll become I don't know. I'll become a Cowboys fan.
What?
I'm kidding. But I'll have to change my.
Who is your second team?
I don't have a second team. I never have.
I have a backup plan. I have a backup plan. My backup.
Who's your second team?
My second team is the Jaguars.
Jaguars.
They're bad.
That's actually no. Okay, you're gonna probably be mad at this. My second team, my backup team, it's the Colts. The Colts.
That's fine.
I know.
I'm not like I thought you were gonna say like the Jets or the Giants or something.
Oh,
like
no.
that. Nah, the Colts are fine. The Colts are. I like T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton's cool.
Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz
Frank
is
Reich.
cool. Frank Reich. I miss Frank Reich.
I miss. I'm just jealous of the Colts. They have it all figured out. They have a great defense, great offense, great coaching staff, great front office. We have a terrible front office. Let's not talk about that. They just have it all figured out.
Did we ever do Eagles rants?
We've done a couple.
We did Sixers rants.
Yeah, we didn't do an Eagles rant.
We're
due for one.
That may happen soon. We'll never know. We'll see. Maybe later on in the season.
Yeah, we'll see like mid-season.
Yeah.
If we're doing terrible,
If we're like 1 in like
Sixers rant.
6 or 1 in 7, like I think
That's a possibility.
that would be a problem. Nick Sirianni would get fired in his first year if that happened. I think. Then we'd have to look for another coach. Do we bring back Doug Peterson?
Imagine.
Doug Peterson comes back, wins another Super Bowl. That would be the day.
And they would still fire him a couple
They
years
would
later.
still fire him 3 years later.
But
Let's move on to our last topic of the day. So tonight, at the time of this recording, the NBA Finals is in a couple of hours. Game 4, it's in Milwaukee. It is Bucks Suns. The Suns still have a 2-1 lead, but Giannis has been playing really well, which I think kind of frustrates you.
it doesn't frustrate me. So yeah, all Giannis does is run and dunk. We know that, right?
Yeah.
All he does is run and dunk. And the only reason, not the only reason, because he's a good player, but he's having success right now because the Suns have no one to throw at him. They have their front court, they have DeAndre Ayton, but other than that, they don't really have anyone to throw at Giannis Antetokounmpo to actually guard him. And but props to Giannis because he's playing on a bad ankle and he's doing this. I think he had 2 straight games with 40 points, and he was on a low list or a small list of people to do that. So props to him, of course, and props to his play. We could have beat them, but let's talk about that another time. But you personally, I want to ask you this. You personally, would you rather have Giannis win a championship or Chris Paul win a championship?
I'd rather have Chris Paul win a championship, and I feel like it's because Chris Paul's been through a lot in his career. He's widely respected in the NBA community, and I feel like him being able to win a championship would mean so much to him.
Yeah, and if he wins a championship, I was thinking about this the other day. If he wins a championship, where does that place him in the top 5 or the just overall point guard rankings of all time?
Ooh. Well,
Probably top 5.
when I think about point guards, I think this isn't in any order, but I think of Magic, I think of Steph, I think of Isaiah Thomas, I think of John Stockton, I think of Oscar Robertson. This is not in any order.
I have an identical list. I think of Magic, Steph. I think of Oscar Robertson like in the 3rd place actually. I don't really think of John Stockton too much. I think he's like more late 10s or like around 8 to 10. I think about Iverson, of course, because you have to. I even think about Steve Nash a little bit.
You're considering Iverson as a point guard.
I mean, that's a distinction that...
I mean, this is why it's so hard to make tier lists because
Yeah.
Iverson was considered a shooting guard for a lot. Sometimes he's considered a point guard by some. Sometimes he's considered a shooting guard by some. So that's why.
And that's why I was confused. I was like, why does he have Iverson in his top 5? But that's why, because you consider him a shooting
Yeah,
guard.
I consider him a shooting guard.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I would consider him a point guard.
I consider him a small shooting
But
guard.
he's small too, so that's why I consider him a point
Yeah.
guard. But that would Chris Paul is already top 10 to me.
Yeah.
We already know that, that's for sure. But I think, and some even argue he's already in the top 5, like 4 to 5.